Coming to you direct from Silencer Shop Studios, home of the Glass Case of Emotion.
SilencerShop.com, the easiest way to buy silencers online, period.
Stand by for education, enlightenment, enjoyment, and entertainment.
He's not here to talk about your feelings. He's not here to say what you want to hear. He's here to say what needs to be said.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, please welcome your host, the pimp hand of America, Professor Paul Markle.
Hey, it's me, and I'm back again, and Jarrad's back again, and Zach's back again. Everybody introduce yourselves and say hello.
Hi, I'm Zach. I'm a shipping ogre. I work here, and I co-host Student Gun Radio. Next.
Do you touch people's packages?
I love touching people's packages.
Okay. I'm Jarrad. I'm the COO and also co-host here at Student Gun.
You know what I have to do, Jarrad? You remember the video? Jarrad and I are both we're actually legitimately, seriously doing the Starting Strength program, the Starting Strength online coaching with Matt Reynolds and his coaches. We took the Fight Strong was last weekend, Jarrad. You realize that?
Yeah. Did you watch that live stream? I didn't think you did because you were driving.
I was on the road. I was driving.
Yeah, sadly, he doesn't know if there's going to be any more Fight Strong classes because the other business, Starting Strength Online Coaching, has grown so rapidly that Matt is actually, A, he loses money going there, and B, he's just too busy to be able to do that stuff. So, and Yeager said that he predicted it. So you guys that missed out on the Fight Strong class, it's your own fault, and you might not get to take it.
Oh, that's too bad. But we did. We took Fight Strong last January, and we've been working the program. And Jarrad and I both got on with the Starting Strength online coaching. Well, the reason I bring that up, Jarrad, is because I one of the things that you do, what they help you do, is with Starting Strength online coaching. You're like, if you've got a coach near you, great. You just go to the facility where the coach is, and you're there live and in person. But the fact of the matter is there's not a lot of those because they don't just hand out. It's not like CrossFit. It's not like CrossFit where they hand out CrossFit certificates with Cracker Jacks or in your Captain Crunch. To be a Starting Strength coach, it's really a long process, and there's really hardcore serious vetting, which is good because that way when you get a coach that is a certified Starting Strength coach, that they know their crap, right? Because Matt and Rip and their guys made sure that guy or girl knows what they're talking about, right? So it's a good thing. But the bad thing is because there aren't a lot of those guys, well, what does that mean? Well, it means that, some of them, you're not going to be able to get to them sometimes.
Yeah.
Because, they just, so that's why there's a reason I'm saying all this. Jarrad, you know the video that I sent to Graham?
Yeah.
He didn't acknowledge it. He just pretended like it didn't happen.
Oh, man.
So what I just had to do was I had to send him the actual deadlift video.
That's funny.
I don't know. All right, I'm going to find out from Matt. Matt was super busy this weekend teaching the Starting Strength or the Fight Strong class in Camden. He was super busy doing that, so I really didn't have much communication with him. But I'm going to communicate with him this week, and I'm going to ask him if Graham is listening to Student of the Gun Radio. And if he's not, he's wrong.
I'll ask Graham.
Well, I sent him a video, and I asked him how my breathing was, if he could, check my breathing and tell me if I was doing the right kind of breathing. And he didn't acknowledge it. So. But who did acknowledge it and really appreciated it? It was your mother.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was so funny. For those, well, not very many people know, like 3 people in the world know. But for those of you that know, it's pretty funny.
Matt knows and your mom knows and Graham knows now, but that Graham chose not to address it. So I'm going to find out what kind of sense of humor Mr. Graham has there. I was talking when I was in Las Vegas. I had dinner with a friend, And we were talking about what's going on in our world because, well, my friend is from the gun culture too. He's part of the shooting sports community. And he's in the industry. I'm in the industry. We are. And so over scotch and orders or appetizers or whatever, we had this conversation. And what he said, we as a shooting sports community, or the community of shooting sports manufacturers and so forth, we've done such a good job selling guns. He said, think about it. He goes, think about the gun industry in the 1980s or even early 90s. But if you go back to, if you're long in the tooth like me and you go back to the 1970s or the 1980s even, and you think about when you used to go into a gun shop and think about going into a gun shop and ordering a gun, like saying, hey, this is the kind of gun I want. And can you order it? And, when will it be here? And that was very common in the United States. Most gun dealers didn't keep a huge stock, right? They kept certain, I guess, staples on the shelves, right? They would keep certain staples, bolt action 308s or 30-06 rifles and pump action 12 gauges and 1911 45s and, Smith & Wesson Model 19s and stuff. They always had certain staples, but unique things or different things or custom things, they didn't have that. And you just had to order it. And it was very common in the 50s and 60s and even 70s and 80s to go to a store and say, hey, I really want a blank and I need you to order it for me. And they say, okay, it'll probably be 3 weeks or whatever. And they're like, okay, cool. That's fine. Today, nope. And this is what people know today. This is what manufacturers know today. If you walk into your favorite sporting goods store, especially if it's a big box store, and the gun isn't on the shelf, you'll buy a different one. You won't wait. You won't wait for them to order one. Most people won't. Most gun buyers, they go into the store and they look at whatever is on the shelves and they make a choice. They don't say, well, not what I really want isn't here. I'll order it and I'll wait. Most people, and I know you guys are different because you're my audience, but most people, they look at what's on the shelf or in the case, in the glass case, and they make their decision based upon what's immediately available in front of them. And so what did manufacturers realize in the 90s and 2000s and so forth? They realized that we have to make a lot of stuff and we have to stock a lot of stuff if we want people to buy it, especially black rifles, man. So what did they do? They did a fantastic job producing stuff. I mean, the number of firearms manufacturers in the United States of America has spiked tremendously from the 1970s and 80s. And, the guy I was talking to, we were in a restaurant. It was a good sized restaurant, but I mean, it was still a restaurant. And he said, in 1985, we could have probably put representatives from every firearms manufacturer in the United States, every ammo manufacturer, and every gun writer. If we took one rep from every gun company, every ammo company, and all the active gun writers, because there were no YouTubers or bloggers back then, he said, I bet all those people would fit in this restaurant. And I had to admit that he's probably right. But look at today. We've done such a good job as a shooting sports community making stuff for people to buy. But there was also something else that was going on during that exact same time. While we, as a shooting sports industry, are ramping up and just cranking out rifles and pistols and shotguns and all the stuff to go in, on, and around them, right? While we're doing that, and people are buying it, they're gobbling it up. The American consumer is gobbling up black rifles and stocks and pistol grips and lasers and all that stuff. While that was going on, we also had something going on in our nation where the national educational system has been failing. And so imagine, if you will, I'm drawing a line from gun sales, manufacturing and gun sales, and I'm starting in the 80s. And my finger's going up, 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 and it's going up, skyrocketing up, right? Now start that same line about the same time in the early 1980s, and look at the national education system in America, the public education system in the United States of America, and its focus on and its ability to teach civics, that is how to behave in a society, okay? How to behave in an organized society. History, American history and world history. Representative republicanism, that's U.S. government, which includes natural rights versus state-granted privileges. So you look at that line, and we're turning out 18-year-old high school graduates with a solid foundation in American history, civics, U.S. government, and what do we have? We have a down. Imagine my fingers, and I'm doing it. I'm actually in the studio right now. You can't see me. Can you see me, Jarrad, doing it?
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, Jarrad can see me via the cam. Down, 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 down. And so what do we have?
It's a linear D progression.
It's a D progression. So what do we have? We have hundreds of thousands of millions of Americans who, over the last 10, 12, 15 years, became gun owners. And they own objects, right? They punch their man card. That's what let's face it. Can we be honest with each other? Zach, can we be honest with each other?
Yes, we can. Let's be honest.
All right. Zach says we can be honest with each other. How many people that went out and bought black rifles in the last 10 years just did so to punch their man card so that they would feel manly?
I'm going to guess more than one. More than one.
Well, I don't have exact stats, but what we're seeing now, and the reason I say that is because after in the post Las Vegas world that we live in, the post Mandalay Bay shooting massacre that we're living in, Route 91, whatever you want to call it, we're seeing all these people coming out and the news media can't wait. Have you seen this, Jarrad? Have you seen the guys? They're turning their guns in. They're going to the police departments or they're destroying their guns or whatever. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that.
You haven't?
No, that's stupid.
Jarrad's missed out. But
so they're admitting that they are they could be criminals.
Well, no. Well, I guess one California gun owner is shown. There's pictures of him shaking the hand of a police officer because he called the police and asked them to come to his house so he could literally surrender his guns to them. And you know what he had? I saw the pictures. It was a Ruger 10/22 with some kind of an aftermarket stock with it's one of those black rifle stocks that has a pistol grip and stuff, and it takes your Ruger 10/22 and makes it look super evil, So he surrendered. He wanted to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So he surrendered his Ruger 10/22 and all his 25-round Ruger banana clips. He surrendered those to the police because he wanted to lead the way. Then before we came on, I saw another blurb where some guy took his evil black rifles to the police department and surrendered them, turned them in, told him he didn't want them anymore. And somebody wrote in there like, "Oh, great, you turned in your Ruger SR-22 rifles or your M&P 22s." They were AR style guns that took 22 LR. And he's like, "Well, that makes a difference there, buddy. Congratulations." And of course the media is just all over this. They can't wait to report that story to you, to idiot. They can't wait to lay that story in front of idiot America. And you say to yourself, why would somebody do that? Why would someone go out and buy a gun and then surrender it because that's part of the solution? Or why would gun owners jump all over the reasonable gun control bandwagon? Well, I know, I'm not for gun control and I support the Second Amendment, but we need to do something. And I just think that there's no reason anyone needs to have a bump fire stock. right? And I saw that. I saw all over. It's all over Facebook. It's all over social media. All these reasonable gun owners are posting things like, some guys like, well, and it's a follower of ours, and he's a Facebook follower of ours. Obviously, he doesn't listen to the radio program because he didn't get it. But he's like, I'm going to say right now that there is no reason that any American citizen needs to own a machine gun or any kind of a fully automatic weapon. Only law enforcement, military need to own that. Someone's like, dude, and I said, you failed. You failed the Liberty test. First of all, we're not even talking about legally owned machine guns, which is a thing in America. And I believe the last legally owned machine gun to be used in a felony was a legally owned machine gun that was used by an off-duty police officer to commit a murder. And that was about 30 years ago. Legally owned machine guns don't get used in crimes. I mean, it's like 0.0000001%.
Even though people spend a lot of money, they don't want to lose their damn gun.
Mm-hmm. Because to get a legally owned machine gun, you had to go through a lot of hoops. And you had to pay a lot of money. So, and the more I thought about it, the more right. He was absolutely right. What we did is we did all the magazine advertising and the television advertising, the radio advertising, and so forth. As an industry, we've done such a good job selling our wares, but the people that are buying them at the same time have no understanding, or very small, tiny understanding, about civics, history, about what representative republicanism is actually all about. And that's what they're like, in a democracy, we all get to vote. That's because we're a democracy and we all get to vote. Yeah. The United States of America is not a democracy, you mongoloid. It's a representative republic.
Well, isn't that the same thing?
It's the same thing. I got a good brain. You've got a fine brain, Jack. Who was I? Did I do a good enough job there? Doing Simple Jack.
Simple Jack.
Simple Jack. You do Simple Jack.
Oh, VHS.
Oh, it's a VHS copy. Huh? That's good too. We read this. We watch story of Simple Jack. You should have got an Oscar. He should have got an Oscar. That's right. So, as we progress throughout our lives and here in the United States of America, every other country can fornicate themselves. And I'm sorry, but if you're listening to me in Australia or England or India or wherever, if you're outside the borders of the United States, it's great that you're listening, and I'm glad that you are. But what I don't give two rodents' testicles, or even one rodent testicle, about the opinions of British tax slaves about how we should have, what our laws should be. I love when they go to these Europeans go to YouTube or whatever, and they're like, I don't see why the United States thinks they need to own guns and dup-a-dup-a-dup. Yeah, as you're having acid sprayed in your faces, and Somali refugees are driving up on the streets or over London Bridge and running you over and slashing your throat and blowing up and detonating nail bombs in your subways. Yeah, I don't see why Americans think they need to have guns. Guns don't solve anything. Neither do acid attacks and bombs on your subways. They don't solve anything either, there, buddy. How safe are you? That's right. Jarrad, I forgot. They have gun control in Europe, and there's no terrorism there. We should all move to Europe.
Yeah,
where there's no terrorism.
Absolutely.
They have really strong gun laws and no terrorism in Europe. Oh, that's right. All right, it is Tuesday, and I think everybody in the listening audience really could use a quiet time. Bob Ross, we need you right now.
Meet Sid. Sid doesn't text back. Sid does simplify suppressor ownership. Meet Sid, the new interactive kiosk that makes the fingerprinting and paperwork of silencer applications quick, easy, and pain-free. If you're ready to own a silencer, make time to meet Sid, your new buddy in the silencer business. Available at selected Powered by Silencer shop retailers.
All right. It's quiet time, and it's time for us to get a little deep. Jarrad, now, have I explained the difference between malum in se and malum prohibitum enough on our show? Do you think?
No, I mean, you have, but we might have new listeners, so go ahead and kind of give it a once-over.
Okay, in the malum in se and malum prohibitum, those are Latin terms, and in the legal system and medical system, we use a lot of Latin, very traditional Latin, and this is a historical thing, it goes back centuries, literally centuries. Now, Zachary, you're my son. I know you don't always pay attention to what I say, but if I say malum in se or malum prohibitum, do you understand what that means?
Yes, I do, actually.
Did you learn that in school, or did you learn it from me?
Learned it from you.
Okay. Malum in se is a moral wrong. It refers to laws that don't need to be explained. All right. That is a moral wrong. And there are very few moral wrongs, but there are accepted moral wrongs, generally worldwide, nationwide, civilian-wide, or civilization-wide. Like, for instance, when our forefathers, when they came to the United States of America and they sat down, they're like, hey, we need to have a book of laws, right? And they're like, well, what do you want to make illegal? Do you guys want murder to be illegal, or is that cool? Or you guys want rape to be illegal, or are we gonna go ahead and go with rape here? Or how can you steal from your neighbor? Is that cool or not? No, malum in se is a moral wrong. It's something that you don't need to sit down and explain to people why it's wrong, right? Malum in se is a moral wrong. I shouldn't need to sit down with you and explain why murder is wrong. Rape is wrong. Theft is wrong. I shouldn't have to explain that to you. But there are very few of those, and they're based on the Judeo-Christian 10 Commandments. I know some of you are like, I'm an agnostic and I don't believe in that. Okay, well, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, malum in se is a moral wrong. Now, malum prohibitum is a law or a regulation or a statute that is only wrong because somebody said it was. Because a group of people, prohibitum, malum prohibitum, means to be prohibited. Super simple. It means that people got together and they sat down in a big building and they all got their heads, they're like, hey, we don't think people should be able to eat cheese on Tuesday. And you're like, that's right. No cheese Tuesday. So they passed a law. And they're like, and you say, well, yeah, but I like cheese and I like to eat it every day. And they're like, well, we decided that Tuesday is a no cheese day and we had the votes. So forget you, buddy. If we catch you eating cheese on Tuesday, you're going to the clinker. And you laugh, but malum prohibitum is also different from region to region. Some places, something that is legal is you are allowed by the government to do such and such. In one place, you go to somewhere else and you're not allowed to do that. For instance, in most of Central and South America, a citizen, a mere peasant, is forbidden to own the same caliber or cartridges that are used by the military. That's why the .380 ACP is so popular in Central and South America, because the military uses a 9mm. And in most countries, it's illegal for the peasants to own a 9mm handgun. So what do gun manufacturers do? Well, they sell them .380s, right? And you say, well, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you allow the ruling class to set itself up and start creating these malum prohibitum laws. Now, if we're going to be honest, we're going to have an honest conversation with ourselves, say, what is the greater in society? What is more important if you had to pick one? Is it more important as a society that the members of society follow malum in se, or is it more important as a society that we follow malum prohibitum? For instance, a malum prohibitum law is something like a speed limit. It's super simple, easy for you to understand. 55 miles an hour, you drive faster than that, it's malum prohibitum. We're going to stop you, give you a ticket, take your money away from you because you were wrong. Now, so what's more important? Is it more important that you not be allowed to speed, or is it more important that you not be allowed to commit rape or theft or, steal from your neighbors, rob your neighbors, beat your neighbors up for no reason on the street, hit them with clubs and pipes and things, or to murder them? And you're like, well, duh, Paul. Obviously, it's more important. Malum in se is more important for a fully functional society than a bunch of these arbitrary laws. You're not allowed to park there. You can't drive that fast. You're not allowed to eat cheese on Tuesdays because we said no. All right, I'll give you a great one. A malum prohibitum. How many of you guys live in states with blue laws where you're not allowed to buy alcohol on Sundays? And I know I've lived in those states where you go into a Quickie Mart and on Sunday they have the tape or whatever across the coolers where there's beer because no alcohol sales on Sunday. And you're like, is that a moral wrong? No, but some people got together and they're like, people shouldn't be allowed to drink alcohol on a Sunday. And so we're going to make it against the law to sell booze on a Sunday. If you want booze on Sunday, you got to buy it on Saturday. Okay, well, whatever. What I always thought is if you're part of the Catholic or Lutheran church and you actually use real legitimate wine in communion, what if you ran out that day, man? How are you going to run out and get wine for communion if you ran out accidentally in a state that has blue laws? I know you have to be like Baptist or Methodist and use Kool-Aid or something or grape juice. You get that special grape juice that you can bless, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So my question for you, though, because we're getting kind of deep, this is quiet time, is how can malum prohibitum succeed when malum in se has failed? And this, I'm being 100% completely and totally serious. We need to have an honest conversation because we can't have an honest conversation with liberals or Democrats because they are dishonest. And someone said to me that during the whole thing when I was in Vegas, they're like, how come you should try and be interviewed? Because there is reporters everywhere. And we actually got stopped by one of them, and they asked us if we were staying at the Mandalay Bay, and we said no. And someone said, you should have said yes and gave them your opinion. Like, no, you don't understand. They don't want truth, and they don't want honest opinion. They want you to say something that already supports their opinion. That's what they want. So the fact is that you're not going to be able to have an honest conversation with a liberal Democrat, with a socialist, because they have an agenda and the truth is not going to get in the way of their agenda. But let's say you have an honest acquaintance or family member or relative or what have you that's willing to have an honest conversation. You say to yourself, do you understand the concept of malum prohibitum or malum in se? If they don't, then you're going to have to kind of educate them. You're like, well, I guess since the public schools didn't educate you, it's my job. And then after you do that, you say, well, because a lot of people are like, the law is the law, and the law is the law, and everything is the law, and it's all the same. So you say, that the law against me buying alcohol on Sunday is the same as murder. Well, no, obviously there's different levels, and yeah, that's the way the law works. There's all different levels and so forth. So if, let's say, malum in se, a moral wrong, it is morally wrong to murder human beings, right? Murder is the unlawful killing or taking of a human life, right? We don't understand that. Attempted murder, I shoot at you, it shoots you in the leg or the foot or in the shoulder. You don't die, but you could have died, but you don't. So attempted murder is unlawful. That's malum in se, right? Let's say I don't even murder you. Let's just say I take a baseball bat and I smash your kneecaps out, or I go upside your head or whatever. I punch you in the stomach with brass knuckles. That doesn't murder you. It doesn't kill you, but it's an illegal, unlawful assault, right? Is that wrong? You're like, yes, all those things are wrong, Paul. We're down with that. Okay. Well, if malum in se has failed, and what I mean, the prohibition against a moral wrong, if someone is willing to commit a murder, in their mind, they've justified the murder of another human being. And that's, even psychopaths. Ted Bundy, who was, and a lot of you guys don't know who Ted Bundy is, but he's dead now. Unfortunately, he's worm food, but he was a heinous, horrible mass murderer. But FBI interviewed him, and he morally justified his actions in his own brain. So if you have a Homo sapien, a person walking around who is able to morally justify the murder of another human or multiple humans, so malum in se has failed. The prohibition against murder has failed. How is a malum prohibitum statute going to succeed? All right, I mean, it's sophomoric. It's childish. We have this conversation. We laugh at ourselves like, well, it's stupid, Paul. Of course it doesn't work. Well, no, we have to have this conversation. If malum in se has failed, how does malum prohibitum succeed? So a person has decided that they're perfectly willing to commit homicide, multiple homicides. They don't care. But you say, well, I'm going to stop them from doing that, not by making it against the law to murder, but by making it against the law to use that object to commit murder. And you say, well, we're going to make all guns illegal. No, we're not, because there's always going to be guns, because the government is always going to have them. Because every law that is passed making blank blank unlawful also is exempted. The government exempts itself from every gun law. So there's always going to be guns. It's just who has them. It's illegal in Paris, France, to walk into a movie theater with full auto select fire AKs and hand grenades and to slaughter people. I don't know if it was a movie theater. Maybe it was an artistic live theater, the Bataclan Theater. It was 100% against French law to use machine guns and grenades to kill humans in Paris. You can't go into a store in Paris and buy a full auto AK-47 or a grenade, right? But it still happened. But it was against the law. Yeah, I know, but it still happened. So when you're having these conversations with your friends and relatives and families, you have to ask, like, look, how can, and have them ask them to explain to you how exactly malum prohibitum can succeed when malum in se has failed, and see what they have to say. All right, thank you to our good friends at Crossbreed Holsters, the makers of the Super Tuck Deluxe and the Freedom Carry and all the other stuff that they make, because they want you to be a lawfully and legally armed citizen, not just occasionally, but all the time. Check them out at crossbreedholsters.com. Froglube Green, minty fresh. Green and clean and minty fresh, and it's a bio-based, non-petroleum firearms lubricant. Froglube is also a veteran-owned business, and it's made in the USA, so you might want to think about supporting those guys. You can get Froglube from them, froglube.com, from Brownells, from your local dealer. I don't care. Buy it, use it, drive on. Century Arms is the sweetest smelling arms maker in the US of A. Yeah. And they've got 100% made in the USA AKs. Whether they're pistols or SBRs or rifles or whatever, check those guys out at centuryarms.com. DuraCoat, because life is too short to have an ugly gun. Jared, how many people do you think say this along with me? So I got to
probably, I would say probably quite a bit.
Why DuraCoat? Because life's too short to have an ugly gun, beginning and end of sentence. That's right. DuraCoat products from LauerWeaponry.com. They have a select few DuraCoat products. They don't have the entire line, because the entire line of DuraCoat products is huge. But they have a select few. They got the hot items, the staples, if you will, at Brownells. You can go to brownells.com and shop for DuraCoat or Froglube, or actually Century Arms guns, too. I haven't checked lately. And the Mossberg Shockwave. Last time I checked, the Mossberg Shockwave was in stock, and so were the mini shells, but I haven't checked lately. So you guys have to check for yourself. I can't do all the checking for you. Sometimes you actually have to check for yourself, okay? All right? Okay. Brownells.com. Last but certainly not least, SWAT Fuel, the SWATfuelstore.com. If you go there, use the promo code SOTG2015. You're going to save some money on the new SWAT box. And there's not just one SWAT box. There's actually 2 different SWAT boxes that you can choose from. They have some different stuff in them. Just go to the website and check it out for yourself. Like I said, I can't do all the work for you. I can just point you in the right direction.
Yeah, it's easy. Just go to SWATfuelstore.com and you can check it out there.
Attention, new listeners. We produced a free training video series called 7 Training Tips That Could Save Your Life. We want you to have access to this life-saving information. Get instant access now at studentofthegun.com. Do you watch Student of the Gun TV, read the blog, and follow us on Facebook? If you answered no to any of those questions, you are wrong, but you can easily fix yourself. Go to studentofthegun.com to find everything SOTG.
This is the mind of a psychotic liberal douchebag. All right, first of all, why in the world am I still being subjected to the nasty, just disgusting, despicable human being that is Dianne Feinstein? American gun owners, aren't you sick of hearing from this hag? I know I am. Why do we continuously have to listen? Years, decades now. Oh, crap, I forgot, Jarrad. Because California. Thanks, California.
Yeah.
All you guys out in California who keep sending her back every 6 years, thanks. Oh, I forgot. Jarrad, I forgot. You know what I forgot, Jarrad?
Yeah, they're fighting the good fight.
That's what I forgot. I forgot that I don't understand, and they're fighting the good fight, and I just need to give them more support. So this vile harpy, this disgusting witch, was on CBS's Face the Nation. And Feinstein spoke to CBS's Face the Nation about gun legislation in the wake of the attack. And she was asked by the host, John Dickerson, could there have been any law that would have stopped him? No. This is her saying, no, he passed background checks, registering for handguns and other weapons on multiple occasions. Feinstein. So she admits that no law, and the title of this story is out from thehill.com, Feinstein, no law would have stopped the Las Vegas gunman. So you think, okay, well, then she's not going to push for more gun laws. Oh, no. No. She is. And they go on to talk about, she says, Feinstein, who is pushing for legislation to ban bump stocks, said there's Republican interest in the bill. We have Republican interest. I have lined up. We have 38 co-sponsors. They're all Democratic. And we have individuals. So out of one side of her vile, disgusting mouth, she says, well, no law could have, none of the existing laws could have stopped this guy. But we still need to pass more laws. What? That is the psychotic mind of a liberal, because in case I haven't said it enough, gun control is not about guns, you freaks. It is about control. It's never about getting rid of guns. It's never about making guns illegal. It's about making it illegal for certain people to own certain objects. And the state has always and will always exempt itself from the laws that it applies to you peasants. So, for all of you guys and gals out there that believe that you're a reasonable person and that no one needs to have a bump stock, and they're stupid anyway, and they're range toys, and why would you even want that? And I can live without it. That's what you're saying, right? I can live without it. There's no reason anyone should have one, yada, yada, yada. Well, before you jump onto the bump stock bandwagon, Sparky, you might want to consider or think about what's actually in the current proposed bill. The one that old Di-Fi, that she's all higgledy-piggledy about. It says, here we go. I'm trying to read the small print, and it's really super ridiculously small. But it's from thedailybeast.com, and let me see if I can expand this Jarrad, talk to the people. I'm trying to expand this because this is like a 4-point font, and my eyes ain't that good.
Yeah, it is pretty small, and I was actually just trying to do the same thing over here because I've got my computer like up on a shelf. It's kind of like the elf on a shelf, but it's a computer on a shelf.
Computer on a shelf, yeah.
Yeah, but this
and
is.
So I'm trying to expand this.
You hit Control and then the plus button to expand.
Oh, okay.
And that should work for you.
Where is the plus? Like this?
Like up on the top right by the delete or backspace.
Aha! It happened.
Boom.
Thank you for helping me. All right. So here's the current draft of this bill that they want to put through. It says U.S. to amend Title 18 U.S. Code to prohibit the manufacture, possession, or transfer of any part or combination of parts that is designed and functions to increase the rate of rate of fire of a semi-automatic rifle, but does not convert the semi-automatic rifle into a machine gun or for other purposes. So, you guys out there, you're like, well, I don't need a bump stock anywhere, and they're all stupid, and anyone who buys a bump stock is a moron, and derp. And if that's the price we have to pay for safety in America, then that's the price we have to pay. This bill doesn't say bump stocks. It says prohibit the manufacture, possession, or transfer. I don't see any grandfather clause in here. So if you're one of the, I don't know, 50,000 to 100,000 Americans that owns a slide fire stock, if this passes, you automatically become a felon unless I'm sure they'll put a 30-day grace period in there for you to surrender it to law enforcement officers, right? But it's not just bump stocks. It's any device. So all you 3-gun guys, you're like, yeah, what about me? All you 3-gun guys with your aftermarket triggers, with your Timney triggers and your this trigger and Geisley triggers and all that, aren't those designed to increase the rate of fire of your semi-automatic rifle but not convert it to a machine gun? Yeah. Anybody with all you guys who like these titanium bolt carriers this is a blanket statement. So they get to say and determine any aftermarket part or piece or component or combination of parts designed to increase the rate of fire. Who gets to determine what the lawful and legal rate of fire of a semi-automatic gun is? Because you guys understand that it's going to be different for each manufacturer, right? The semi-auto rate of fire for a Mini 14 and the semi-auto rate of fire for a gas piston AR aren't going to be identical.
But they don't know that. Or maybe they do and they don't care.
Or an M14 or an M1A or an M1 Garand or carbine or whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be different. So what they're going to have to do is then they're going to have to come up with this huge, thick book of how fast, what kind of rate of fire is your gun allowed to have. They'll set a standard. All right, the rate of fire for a semi-automatic is blank. What about Jerry Miculek? Jerry Miculek's hands are going to be made illegal by this bill. Jerry Miculek's trigger finger will be made, possession and transfer of his trigger finger will be illegal. He will not be allowed to possess his own trigger finger because it makes the rate of fire for his rifles really super fast. This is not just an all of you guys who are all this, you're ready to get on the bump stock bandwagon. Ban them. I don't give a crap anyway because they're stupid and no one should have one. You're missing the point, Sparky. If you think that these communists are going to be satisfied to say, okay, slide fire is no longer allowed to make those, we'll put them out of business, bam, end of story. No. All these binary triggers, all these any aftermarket trigger, because you guys know that the factory weight on a normal AR is around 7 pounds, right? 7.8 pounds, 7.5, and depending on the manufacturer, maybe 8. So all you dudes out there with 3.5 triggers, that component increases the rate of fire of your semi-automatic gun, and it is now going to be illegal if you jump on the bump fire bandwagon. And it doesn't say, it says manufacture, possession, or transfer. So this is where we get into, and I know we're going long again, but this is important. This is some important crap, and you guys need to think about this. Ask your liberal friends and all of your buddies and that decided that they're like, bump fire is stupid. All right. This bill passes. Everyone's their blood is all hot, and they get in there and they pass this thing. And let's just say they pare it down to only bump fire configurations. And there's a couple of different companies that make them. Slide Fire is the one you probably know, but there's others. So everybody who had, let's say 100,000 people, there's 100,000 bump fire, slide fire, whatever, in circulation in America. They pass it. They make the possession of it not grandfathered. It immediately becomes a contraband item. You must, within 30 days, surrender it to law enforcement or destroy it or dispose of it in a proper way or blah, 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 whatever, right? Let's say that not all 100,000 people do. Let's say that a whole bunch of people who own these bump fire, slide fire stocks have made YouTube videos because they're not trackable via serial number, right? No, they're not, because they're parts. They're plastic parts. They have no serial numbers on them. So, but you know that your friend, your neighbor Bob, he likes to make YouTube videos, and there's YouTube videos of him at a range shooting one of these bump fire things, going yeehaw, woohoo, and having a good old time, and you think he's stupid. So when this passes, you call your police department and you say, I know my neighbor Bob has one of these things. I know he does, because I've seen his YouTube videos. I've seen his Facebook videos. So is the sheriff department going to go to Bob's house with a warrant and demand that he surrenders that? And you're like, well, yeah, that's what they're going to do, man. They're going to go around, and everybody who's ever made a YouTube video shooting a bump fire stock, they're going to their houses at 2 o'clock in the morning. They're going to kick down their doors and start searching for bump fires. Well, are these people all felons? Are all drug dealers and rapists and murderers and thieves and stuff? And you're like, no, but they've got one of those bump fire stocks, and they are now criminals. Okay, so you're willing to well, what happens if they don't comply? Well, they have to. It's the law. You have to comply. What if they don't? Ask your neighbor, well, what if your neighbor Bob, who you know owns one of those bump stock slide fire things, you know he does because you saw his YouTube video, and that's wrong, and he's wrong, and he needs to surrender that. And the police go to his house and demand that he surrenders, and he doesn't surrender. What are they supposed to do? Leave and come back later? Well, no. He has to surrender. He has to comply. How are you going to make him comply? What if he says, no, I'm not a criminal. I'm not a felon. I'm an American citizen who owned a legal product 2 days ago, and you just signed a piece of paper that said that piece of plastic I have is now depleted uranium. Well, what are you going to do? Well, what do you mean? Well, no, what do I mean? What are you going to do? What is law enforcement going to do if Bob, the slide fire owner, fails to comply? You say, well, I guess they'll use force. Okay, what kind of force are they going to use? Well, as much as it takes to get Bob to comply. What if that results in Bob being killed? Because they're going to have their guns. They're going to have their high-capacity assault rifles with them. Are you willing to kill your neighbor to make him surrender his slide fire stock? And here's the sick thing. The answer is yes. If you ask a liberal Democrat first they would say, well, is my neighbor Bob, who owns a slide fire, is he a Republican Trump voter? Because if he is, then he probably deserves to die. FoxNews.com. CBS fires vice president who said Vegas victims didn't deserve sympathy because country music fans are often Republicans. Now, that is the most famous story but there have been dozens, hundreds of tweets and social media messages from the left, from anti-Trumpers and Antifas and social justice warriors saying that they didn't care and they hoped all Republican Trump voters did die. So before you jump on the reasonable, let's go ahead and give the government more power to ban things bandwagon, you might want to say, how many of your neighbors do you think should die because they own plastic gun parts? Well, they should just comply. Oh, so that's how we stop mass murder in America, is by giving the government more power. I didn't know that, but thank you for clearing that up for me. All right, guys, I gave you another bonus length episode. I hope you're happy. If you're not, I don't know what to tell you. Send in a self-addressed stamped envelope, and we'll send you a complete refund of today's purchase price. That's it for today. Tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, and we're going to, oh, man, we got more to talk about. But I think we've done enough damage for one day. Don't you, Jarrad?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've done enough damage for a whole week. We should just take the rest of the week off.
All right, kids. Remember, you're a beginner once, a student for life.